Oh my god, this was a paid game. I completely forgot.
Sit down, DRAGONCUCK. Why don't we just buy you a hooker as a gift?
Now your character is gay. D&D horror stories. You have them. I have them. He's got them. He's got the look in his eyes. A man who has seen way too much.
I have seen everything.
He's dead inside, and so am I. Let's read some tales from the deep bowels of Reddit. All of them, I believe, are from r/RPG horror stories. We got some good ones. First one's a medium-length story. This one is by Dr. Sodium Chloride. I don't think he's a real doctor.
No, I don't think so either.
This one's called I Cast Rope Trick. A few years back, an old 5th edition group that I was in couldn't run in our usual space. Instead, we headed out to the local FLGS, hoping to run there instead. Got ourselves a table, brought some dice, grabbed snacks, the usual. The Eberron book had just dropped, and I was putting the finishing touches on my Artificer's character sheet while we waited for the DM to arrive. I chat with my table about how excited I am that a new class finally dropped for the game, and someone clearly overheard me. A random player from another table detaches and oozes on over to ours. I think we all assumed he must have been friends with one of us at the table from how familiar he acted, but when we checked later, none of us had ever met him. He talks about how he's got a sick Artificer build too, offered to engage us in a quick PvP session to test out our builds. Now I'm a little hesitant, but the rest of the table wanted to see my character in action, so I relented and said sure. After all, it should be fun. I had an artillerist who rolled some goofy stats, and he apparently had a battlesmith, so I figured it'd let me see the 2 different versions of the new class all at once. First round of combat, I win the initiative. I pull off a bog standard fire my attacks round. His turn comes and he casts Rope Trick. We all stare at him a little confused, and he smugly explains how he's going to hop on his mount, climb up the rope, pop out each turn, and launch every spell he has at me, then short rest in the safety of his hideout. I might as well quit now because he's basically unbeatable.
What?
Like, what? I'm not sure I understand how that works. I think he's joking for a second, but then he keeps grinning at me. I explain, the rope in his inventory is 50 feet long, so even with a mount, he'd only be able to climb like 30 feet in his turn. Artillerists have access to really easy knockback effects, so on my immediate next turn, I just shoot him off the rope and deal 30 feet of fall damage. Even if he got inside the rope trick, he's pinned himself to one location, so I can just dash away and be out of range of most of his spells and attacks very quickly, since the artillerist is a much more ranged focus class than battlesmith. Even if he pulled off his plan successfully, I could also just short rest in the time it takes him to do it, so it would accomplish absolutely nothing. Even if we didn't short rest, I could just leave, both in and out of character, because this was meant to be a fun duel, not whatever this was. We all just kind of stared at him, baffled at what the hell he's trying to achieve with this, and he sulkily collects his dice and returns to his table without much of an explanation, abandoning the duel when his strategy didn't pan out. We go back to our game, and I forget this until about 5 minutes ago when I saw Rope Trick brought up in another conversation. Do you have thoughts while I look up the spell Rope Trick?
I have no idea what that spell is.
He was just going to pop his head out and be like, fireball.
Yeah. The amount of time it would actually take, it might have just been a duel. Like, it's 2 players against each other, so, I mean,
right.
Combat rounds are going to be short, but still, it's going to take you forever to fire off every spell. And like he said, if you just stay inside the extra dimensional space for long enough,
yeah,
the artillerist can just run away.
Yeah,
like you're not accomplishing anything. Now, that's a really awesome, nifty thing that I now want to try.
I need Norm to have Rope Trick now.
Yeah, it would be
lightning bolt.
Yeah, pretty much. Or you just get the whole party up there.
Yeah.
You get the whole party up there, and you shoot fireballs. Archie will go flying down as a meteor.
Everyone pops out.
Oh,
pew!
Holy crap! I figured it out.
That's how we win the game.
We have been talking about ODSTs in in our campaign. We figured it out.
Wait, I've got it. We need everyone to learn Rope Trick.
Yes.
Because it lasts for an hour.
Yeah, and you can get
Right?
eight.
You get 8 of them.
Yeah.
So all of our PCs.
So 8 times 8, we can get 64.
And everyone gets a rope.
Yes.
So then the first one's like, rope trick. And then they're all in there and he like sticks his head out and he holds his arm out and goes rope trick. And then everyone climbs up the next one.
Yep.
And they go up to that one and he's like, rope trick. And then they climb up the next one. And then they're like 200 feet in the air. That's kind of strong.
Yeah.
Like, look, dude was on to something, but he didn't
think it all the way through.
He didn't check all the boxes.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. It just, if you're not doing something like that, like in a boss fight or maybe in like an actual like a larger combat setting, it's not really gonna do anything.
Yeah,
because you just either sit there and wait them out and then you nuke them, or you just walk away.
Great for ambushes though.
Yes.
Rope trick. Well, you know what? I think rope trick needs a little more respect on its name. That's pretty cool. You could definitely do some good stuff with that. Just not the way that this guy was trying.
Yeah.
He didn't think it out. We're gonna go ahead and scoot on to the next one. This one might be a little triggering.
Oh boy.
If you've had some like pat stuff happen lately, maybe skip this one. It sounds a little hard for maybe this person. This is a story from Tiny Houseplant. GM makes me confront my dead cat in game on stream.
This one's not looking good.
It's looking grim. It's looking grim here. So, I stopped gaming with this group for a myriad of reasons. But this story in particular was kind of a tipping point for me. My cat died a few months ago very unexpectedly. My partner and I were on vacation for 3 days, and my partner got a call from our cat sitter. The cat had dropped over dead suddenly, and the sitter had to place his body in the fridge. Oh, excuse me? We had to drive back 8 hours in pouring rain so I could retrieve my cat from the fridge. It was horrific. A month after this happened, I already had tickets to fly out to see my gaming group and play in a couple of games on stream. I wish we could have canceled because I still wasn't in a good place, but my partner and I flew out anyway. I had a few rough moments on this trip. One moment, someone had put a stuffed animal in the fridge as a joke. Come on.
What?
Your friends suck.
Yeah.
They knew my cat had just died, but they didn't know the details of his death. Okay, well, you may get maybe like a tiny little bit of leeway for not knowing that. I don't blame them at all. But after this happened, I had to go to the bathroom to cry from a flashback and keep composed. I was playing in 2 games on stream. My friend was running a Call of Cthulhu game, and my partner was going to play in it as well. The GM was very rude to him the whole time and other fun stuff. There was a moment in the game where my character encounters a moving cat made of stone. The cat was once living but cursed and turned into this. He describes the cat as cold and rigid in its movements. My character is the only one to encounter this cat. I'm having heavy flashback moments. The whole time my partner is gripping my hand under the table because he can sense me holding back from crying. This whole thing is being streamed. I had to stay composed. I asked the GM after the game why he made me encounter this cat, especially knowing that my cat had just died and all the details on how he died. The GM said he didn't even plan on it being a cat, that's just what popped into his head, and justified it further by saying cats are cool. This made me more upset knowing that it didn't even need to be a cat in the first place. It took a while for him to apologize, eventually. There were so many red flags on this trip, but I'm really glad that my partner was with me. I don't know what I would have done on that trip without him. It helped me realize how tone deaf that group of friends was in general.
Right off the rip. They not friend shaped. They a-hole shaped.
They buttholes.
They had just big puckery ones.
They big puckered stank holes.
How are you that insensitive? They kind of excused away the cat toy in the fridge thing.
The stuffed animal in the fridge.
But the GM, a cat was the first thing they thought of. How you know your player is going through this thing. They've explained it to you. How do you think it's okay to do this at the table? Now, maybe if the player was like over it, or they'd explain,
Right.
hey, it's a hard time for me right now, but if this is something I'm dealing with, it's fine if we do this. But with as hard as the OP was explaining it was for them, why would the GM think that was a good thing to do?
Yeah, it's it reeks of just being a complete moron.
Yeah,
At best, absolute goon at worst. Like just a jerk.
Tone Deaf doesn't even actually begin to explain it.
Yeah.
And kudos to the significant other, because we've read a bunch of these Reddit stories where significant others are
just as bad or not helping.
Yeah. Kudos to the significant other for actually helping their partner through the situation.
Well, it's also something to consider for OP if you're out there somewhere. You said this is all on stream and you really have to keep composed. I don't think that's true. I think that there's a space to be like, I really need you to not have this be a cat right now. I think that it's okay to do that even on stream.
Yeah. Even being in front of a camera, like streaming and everything, there still needs to be the element of human decency and openness. Like, you still have to be able to tell your GM or other players at the table, hey, I'm not okay with this. This is a red line for me right now.
Or even if you didn't want to say something, message them, DM them, hit them a message on Discord, something, wherever they get messages.
Yeah.
Hit them with a message real quick.
Yep.
Hopefully they see it, or even just say, even if you're streaming, something that's more innocuous is, hey, DM, can you check your messages?
Yeah.
Something to consider. The game and the stream are not more important than your mental health.
Yeah.
They're just not. And it's one thing to get a little irritated while you're playing a game, but trying to stop yourself from bawling, don't hurt yourself that way. They're not worth it. The game and stream, they're not worth that. Other than that, I just don't get it. I can't imagine being that GM. Because what was their thought process? I need an animal. His cat just died.
Yeah.
We'll do a cat.
Yeah.
Heartless.
It still boggles me how tone deaf and obstinate people can just be.
And then they say here at the end that it really took him a while to apologize.
Yeah.
So they apologized eventually.
That makes me think of they must have gotten pestered.
Yeah.
Or whether it was the OP or their significant other, or maybe someone at the table is brought it up again or something, and they finally realized, hey, I should apologize, or they were just okay, I guess I should apologize.
Yeah, they kind of just swept it under the rug.
Yeah,
because it would be one thing if they truly didn't realize in the moment, which is certainly something that could happen. Maybe that just completely they forgot and didn't realize how upset the player would still be.
Yeah,
that can definitely happen. But the fact that it took them so long and probably half-heartedly to apologize kind of tells on them there. Don't be that DM. Keep that stuff in mind. B has something to say. In case that didn't pick up, B was saying that maybe it was something more sinister. That maybe the DM did this intentionally to make their player cry for something viral on stream. Also very possible.
Yeah, some premeditated drama on stream.
Oh man, I'm going to make my player cry and it's going to be so dramatic and emotional, just like Critical Role. Except
those are professional actors.
That's not how that works. You're not that good of a DM. Your players aren't that good of actors. No offense to what's their name? Tiny Houseplant. They're not that good of an actor.
It's sadly enough. That's actually
it's very likely.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if you do that stuff, you're a poopy butt. Don't do that. On to the next story. This one has the tag cheating in it. Cheater, pumpkin eaters. This one is by Remarkable Library 687. DM tries teaching me his weird ways and makes it double trouble with his girlfriend. Here we go. So, this happened years ago when I was still new to the world of TTRPGs. A tale of me trying to get head on into DMing, failing and picking up bits of trauma along the way. Only by writing this, I realized how much this whole thing has ruined my TTRPG experience for years. Even parts of my life outside of it. It might be a longer story though, so grab your snacks, drinks, and get comfortable. Enter the cast. The DM, let's call him Phil. His girlfriend, let's call her Jenny. My girlfriend, Miri. And myself, the naive newbie DM/RPer that I was back then. Miri had just introduced me to D&D and I was hooked. I absolutely love storytelling and the roleplay aspect of TTRPGs more than anything. So I registered in a forum, found some groups, played a couple of one-shots, and then came to the inevitable. The storyteller inside of me wanted to DM my first game. Big ideas, my own world, aka a lot of homebrew. So I posted in that forum something about new DM wants to try out stuff, and sure enough found some people who wanted to join. Among those people were Phil and Jenny, adding to it that both were about 10 years older than me. Phil told me he had long years of experience in being a DM and a player, and asked if I could use some help getting my bearings. I accepted because, heck yeah, I needed advice and guidance. So he and his girlfriend joined the campaign Discord server, and shortly after, we had a session 0. So far, so nice, everything goes well. I DM a couple of one-shots before going to the actual campaign. This is where the problems started. Phil, while letting me DM my own sessions, and never talked over my decisions, or did anything to interrupt the game flow. His mindset was way out of the way. He believed that he had to defeat his players, and that it was all DM versus players. Oh boy, have we seen these before.
Yes.
A DM had to do everything to stop the players from achieving their goals. He criticized a lot of our game sessions. My stuttering, that I took too much time, had too little descriptions. Jenny was the more overtly problematic. More overtly problematic? Oh no. Oh boy. Jenny was the more overtly problematic person in the group. She did things like interrupting the game, starting a full 15-minute long argument whether a check should be perception or investigation, simply because her stat in investigation was higher. Phil had to cut her off, but did text me after the session about how Jenny was right. In the same session, Miri's character shot a firebolt across a dark corridor to lighten it up somewhat for those without dark vision, or to spy traps if there were any. Jenny, however, started another discussion about whether or not that should be possible with that kind of spell at all, again interrupting the flow, and my anxiety got so bad that I had to leave a few sessions early. Here's where I messed up. I did so without warning. Though I texted not long afterwards and apologized, it did understandably put some players off, and I again received criticism from the same people who made me feel that anxious in the first place. Meanwhile, Phil asked me to join his own ongoing campaign. He, with Miri present, praised the role-playing skills of his own players, and that he didn't believe I was on that level yet. But that he'd give me a chance, that he would do me a favor, etc. I, eager to play more and more, accepted the invite. Enter more problems. We did have a session 0 for my character, an elven druid who he brand marked as a follower of Tiamat. Yes, that Tiamat, without her knowing that he's evil. So her goal that he made up for me, more or less with my consent, I thought it was kind of cool, but I also had no clue what was appropriate and what wasn't, was something along the lines of retrieving something that had been stolen and to create chaos and destruction. I don't quite remember the specifics, but it did put my druid into a really trippy situation from the start, since Jenny's character in that group was a lawful good cleric of Bahamut. And the first question she asked my druid was whether or not she respected the gods. Now, I realized that Phil essentially put me up as the unknowing, innocent, secret antagonist of the group, possibly to further implement the mindset, DM versus player, into my head. Or maybe he just wanted to see who would win, me or his girlfriend. More on that later. Oh, and no consent talk. I am now very adamant about consent talks. What triggers everyone has, etc. Back then, I admit I was kind of blind to these things, mainly because I didn't realize how much it matters and impacts your well-being. Somehow Phil left that bit out of his teachings, which became very clear in the first session I got introduced to his group. It was a rescue mission since my druid was captured at the end of the session 0. Fair enough start. What did make me extremely uncomfortable, though, trigger warning, mentions of violence, was that he texted me privately mid-session while he was describing the group following the noises of interrogations and loud voices. He demanded for me out of nowhere. Pretend/roleplay as if you're being tortured. I declined. Remember when I said no consent talk? Yeah, so apparently my roleplay skills weren't strong enough. Now, for the double trouble part of things, out of game. From Muri's wording, who was helping me to remember and write those things down, Phil wasn't interested in teaching me how to DM. He wasn't interested in anything besides grooming me. We chatted quite a bit, and I guess he seemed nice enough, which got Jenny fuming. For example, we were playing games other than D&D, like Guild Wars 2. Jenny had tried for months to get Phil to play it with her. Now I suggested it, and he immediately said, yeah, let's do it. I remember the pressing silence between the two during the voice call, and their constant reassuring that they wouldn't fight and it's all just friendly banter. Overall, Jenny was just really mad at me because her boyfriend was paying more attention to me than her, while he put her and me up against each other, bringing it full circle. Yo, this guy needs a reality check, dog. He needs a hard reflection on what he's doing. He's doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
Eventually, Miri, me, Phil, and Jenny had a physical meetup to talk things out, which meant that we ate food at McDonald's while he talked about how amazing of a DM he is, how he forces his players into time limit dungeons, and how that's all totally chill. I remember coming out of that meeting stunned, confused, and uncomfortable. Contact broke shortly afterwards, and I have never heard from either Phil or Jenny since. The other players in the party stayed for a while, though, and we had 1 or 2 sessions of the campaign I had in mind, but it all fizzled out. I just got more and more anxious of TTRPGs in general. Then life happened, it's all my fault. It's become a core fear of ours thanks to Phil, Jenny, and several other people who came after that. Writing and posting this now feels like a relief. I guess the takeaway of this mess of a post is something like how important informed and understood consent is from all parties involved, and how roleplay shouldn't leak into private life and vice versa. After long years of a break, I'm finally back into TTRPGs. I'm trying to pick up GMing again, but first and foremost looking to play, because D&D and other role-playing systems are amazing. Thank you for reading. I hope it was at least somewhat entertaining. Signed, Allison. TLDR, Control Freak tries to force his ways onto me via manipulation and emotionally cheating on his girlfriend, putting her and me up against each other, leading to ruining the TTRPG for me for a long time. Edit, just wanted to make it clear, I had no interest in dating him at all. Didn't even think there was anything like that involved. Geez, was I naive. Holy
that was a whirlwind.
That's quite the tale. That's quite the tale, Allison.
Most of that sounded like trying to start a cage match and pick the winner to be his next partner.
To be his woman.
Yeah.
He want his caveman TTRPG woman.
Yeah,
big,
that
strong.
whole scenario. That's basically what it sounded like.
That's just insane behavior.
Just caveman logic going on.
I believe they said that Phil was like 10 years older than them or so. Like 10 plus years, which makes sense. We don't know how old they are.
Yeah.
But it seems more and more we're seeing the differences between older and younger TTRPG players.
Yeah.
And older TTRPG players, more often than the younger ones, tend to have this mindset of DM versus players. That seems to be something time and time again with older players.
It also comes down to, like, we're the U.S., obviously. Yeah. Like, culturally...
No, this is China.
So, like, in the U.S., like, older generations, like, it's all about, like, winning. You got to be first. You got to win. Yeah. It's everything has to be a competition. Yeah. And you can tell, like, we're millennials. Generations before us...
Speak for yourself. I'm 20 years old.
Shut up, you old.
Unlit, fam.
Hello, fellow humans.
Put up that picture of Steve Buscemi. How do you do, fellow kids?
Like for us, like generations before us, it was mostly just about competition. Like it's us versus them. Yeah. And then once you get to like us and younger, we literally learned, like it was part of us growing up to be collaborative. Yeah. Like it's about talking
and they wonder why we like socialism a little more than older people do.
Yeah. And it just seems like we also see a lot more horror stories involving that more and more, like people, older DMs pushing this player versus DM mindset, and it doesn't make the game any better. I mean, if they want to run the table that way, that's fine. But
if everyone wants to play that style, then play that style.
But the whole point, like the reason D&D brings people together, is the fact that it's collaborative. Like people can come together, they can have their own house rules, and you play a game and you play together without this overbearing mindset of we have to beat the DM or the DM has to beat us. This dude is just an awful human being, like emotionally.
Yeah, he needs to get an actual grip on himself and probably his life, because he antagonized some strangers and then antagonized his own partner, and nobody won. Their game fizzled out because of the actions of this person.
And even seemingly from OP's description of it, it didn't seem like he was overall that good of a DM to begin with.
No, it doesn't sound like his game was great.
An unbelievable amount of narcissism coming off of it as well. That maybe they just been DMing for so long, they were kind of that almost forever DM where they've been at the head of the table for so long, they
think they're good at it.
Yeah,
just nobody else wanted to do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hopefully, Allison and Miri, if those are your real names, hopefully you found a much better table. Sounds like you're playing again. Glad you are. Just make sure you always are comfortable at your table. Don't be afraid to talk to your DM. You know, get things out there like, hey, I don't like this. Can we adjust this and that? Just talk to people. And if the table that you're at now doesn't work for you, there's so many others. Don't give up, because you can find a game that you really enjoy. I've been a text-based role player in the same group of people generally for almost 20 years. I know, I'm only 20 years old. I've been doing this since I was a little babbit, this big. Yeah. This big? I don't know how big babies are.
He still drools sometimes.
I'm drooling right now. But you're going to find them. They're out there. Just keep going. If you're Phil, that DM, you suck butt. Agreed?
Agreed.
Next story. We were laughing about this title.
It was just there.
We saw it at the same time. This is a story from Joe Car 19. And now your character is gay. How did the DM pull this one off? Oh, man. A few days ago, I had a story involving my former best friend. I was still surprised, and I kind of want to read the other story now. What's the other one? I was still surprised, and I had to tell another one of my best friends, Matt. We meet rolling dice. I introduced him to his wife rolling dice, and I was the best man at the wedding. As a player, he is one of the best I have ever met in my life. Sadly enough, his job doesn't give him much in freedom, and now he has a group that meets once every 2 weeks. So, Matt has always been honest and truthful with me, and when he told me this story, I was a bit surprised. When we were in college, we had an anime group. Every Friday, we would binge some anime and then roll them dice. Except if the campaign hit a major development and the guys felt like they needed to solve it ASAP. But I'm the group. I think he means I'm with the group, and we had an acquaintance who was very childish and immature, to the point that she would turn her papers with anime drawings and would act like an anime character. We tried running her Call of Cthulhu, and she wanted to turn it into a magical girl game. No, not Madoka, like 100% non-ironically magical girl. Due to our limited times, Matt got an invite by this girl, Pam, to join her group. They're playing D&D, He is going with a mage dwarf who is a forge master, surprisingly since he usually plays the tank or heavy melee in anything. So we were discussing how Jesse would DM and leave PCs behind when they would show up, like leaving on a previous town if the party moved to the next place while the player wasn't in on the game. A sort of punishment that Jesse had to the players for not attending his game that day, to which he goes, could be worse. Turns out that the chicks of Matt's game are yaoi fans and write fanfics of the PCs in the game.
Oh boy.
So Matt's character is interested in knowledge, not relationships, and he and his characters are straight. One day, he didn't show up, and the GM decided to make his character gay without his consent, since the girls thought it was cute. Matt feels creeped out by this. When things finally changed after the GM switched places with another character, the new GM turned out to be a combat-heavy guy who antagonizes the players. The new GM is throwing high-level monsters to a level 3 party. Bro, how long have you been level 3? You should be level 3 by the end of, session 1. Matt knows how to think outside the box in every encounter. He has guided the party using non-conventional ways to fight creatures, to which the GM is angry as heck, always pushing for potential TPK scenarios out of spite. Bear in mind, I do not pero DnD. I don't know if English is their first language. I don't know D&D, nor I don't know about game. But Matt has mentioned the GM using 2 beholders, and he is threatening with a Tarrasque to a level 3 party. That sounds awful, just all the way around. What would you do if you started up in our next game and B was like, and now your character is a chipmunk?
I'd probably gobble those nuts.
All right, that's it. That's the whole thing. I think we're at the end there. No, boy, this whole group sounds awful. I don't know what to make of it. They all suck.
I could
Matt
the main punishment that he says is basically the party just gets to move ahead and the players left there. Okay, you can make that a regular part of your game. Did I hear it right? Is that?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Again, the writing was a little off.
I don't think English is the first language.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. Either that or they're just not good at writing, which is fine.
So, I mean, I could see that as a regular consequence, especially if, say, you know the party and maybe you've got a couple of members that don't communicate very well and they miss sessions or whatever. Then, okay, I could see that as, maybe a deterrent to kind of combat that behavior at your table. But changing the actual sexual preference of a player at your table, or the character at the table, just seems like you were trying to find a punishment that was angsty enough that you could offend your player.
It's just really weird of a DM to do that, and also I would never allow a DM to do that. Yeah, my character is who they are. You're not going to determine who my character is, unless for some if I'm under a mind control or something. Yeah, and go kill Aurora again. Norn might do that, but her player is over there. Yeah. But yeah, if you're under some kind of charm or mind control, well, sure, then your character will do a thing they wouldn't normally do. Mm-hmm. I don't ever think that a DM or GM can just be like, now your character is gay. Look, there's 2 things about this. One of them is more subtle. The first one, obviously, is giving players agency over their own characters. Yeah. That's dumb. The second is the more heinous one that's kind of subtle and hidden. It's the fact that he thinks that being gay is a punishment. Yeah. Right? You've told on yourself by doing that. That's not a punishment at all. And Matt says he's creeped out by that, and maybe it's not his thing. Whatever, that's fine. He has a right to be upset by the DM changing something, or trying to anyway, fundamental about his character. But that DM is just being a homophobe. Yeah, it's a bad DM and a homophobe. Get a grip. Don't be that DM. If you're the players in this, did they say they got out of there? I don't think they did. Get out of there. Run from that table.
Well, I think because it said they got a new GM right at the end
The GM switched places, but the new one sucked too.
Okay.
Level 3 party threw 2 beholders at him, threatening a Tarrasque.
On a level 3 party.
On a level 3
like,
party.
Did it just sucky GM to sucky GM? Like, you guys, the good people, just filter yourselves out and make a new group. Just.
Yeah, we're going to do an exercise. This is for all the bad GMs and GMs out there. Look at me right now. Tighten up. Tighten the up. Okay? Tighten up. Just tighten up. Last story. Oh no.
Oh no.
This is from that bastard over there. Creepy DM tries to claim Prima Noctis. This happened a few years ago in a D&D 5th edition game, and the audacity of this DM still bewilders me. We were playing at a game store, and this was technically a paid DM. Don't be this guy. Don't do it. Tighten up. The relevant players were acquainted to me, as was most of the party, but they were kind of flirty with each other in real life and were playing it as a boyfriend, Kobold Rogue, and girlfriend, Eladrin Sorcerer. I played as a Drow Cleric. DM was into Sorcerer's player from the get-go and made up a whole litany of DM PCs to flirt with her, to no avail. Most ended up dying to his own monsters after trying to simp for her. At one point, he even told her point blank. Oh no. I vomited in my mouth a little bit. I'm going to roll up a high-value male who will sweep you off your feet. Oh boy.
Just take him out with the trash. Just
take him out.
Just straight out of here.
If you don't have DM at home, store-bought is fine. She then tried to tell him...
Make sure it's not expired.
She then tried to tell him not to, and reminded him that she told him she was dating Kobold Rogue. So then DM went into overdrive trying to kill him. Every monster we encountered would target him. Luckily, the party caught onto this and defended him with our lives. In my case, literally. I even min-maxed my next character to deny the DM the kill he wanted so bad. Eventually, the DM seemed to give up. Maybe he noticed just how obvious it was that he was targeting him, how pathetic it was, and that killing him would just look desperate at this point. DM then decided that since Sorcerer and Rogue were so happy together, his priest DM PC would marry them in the jungle town of Rothmar. We were supposed to go there and meet the lord of the town for a mission anyway. We kind of thought this was his way of making up for his creepy behavior. It's not, dude. There's no.
It's gonna get worse.
During the event, we were vigilant. On the off chance the DM was pulling a spiteful red wedding type thing, we rolled our perceptions and found nothing. Once the bride and groom said their vows, they kissed each other, the DM gets this huge grin on his face and says, "As you kiss each other, the Lord of Rothmar, Rowan of House Garland, rides up and greets the bride and compliments her on her sexy and ravishing dress. He says that he will enjoy bedding her." She then said, "What? I'm not sleeping with him. I just got married. Look, why don't we buy you a hooker as a gift and talk about our next mission tomorrow? Leave us alone for the time being." He says, "Oh, no, little lady. It's my right, as lord of these lands, to claim you on your wedding night. It's called Prima Noctis, the first night." Then Kobold's player's face was visibly enraged and is staring daggers at the DM. The DM looked at him and said, "You can have her once I've used her." Wait your turn, Dragon Cuck.
This is the Dragon Cuck. That's it. I want to get that as like a patch or like a card, so I can just like throw that at people.
Check our store for the Dragon Cuck t-shirt. We're coming out with that one, bro.
We're also gonna have playing cards. Just take that, you Dragon Cuck.
He says, "Wait your turn, Dragon Cuck," referring to the kobold. Kobold's player then said, "I use sneak attack to kill Lord Rowan."
Good. Good.
The rest of the party joined in as DM swarmed us with guardsmen, assassins, court wizards that we had no ability to defeat. He also decided on the fly that Lord Rowan was a lich. Basically, he was telling us, let my DM PC sleep with the bride or you all die right now. Kobold's player confronted the DM when this became apparent. He said, what the f*** is this? DM said, what? Not all encounters are balanced, as he chuckled. Kobold's player said, you know damn well what I mean. DM then said, it's history. Lords were at the top of the hierarchy and had the right to f*** any woman they wanted on their wedding night, to bless the marriage. It was an honor back then. Eladrin said, I doubt it was seen that way by the couples involved, especially the women. And the DM said, oh, here we go with that lecture. More women's oppression. Look, this campaign is dark and gritty and realistic. If you can't handle a mature game of D&D without being preachy and acting like a about it, then why don't you just leave and play in Matt Mercer's campaign or something? Bro, if any of us could leave our tables and play with Matt Mercer, we would. Also, you're dumb as hell. So she did. As did her boyfriend, the rest of the party as well. That's how that campaign ended. We did get our money back. Oh my god, this was a paid game. I completely forgot. This was a paid table. We did get our money back for the whole campaign after complaining to the game store. He is still running paid games there, though. Yo, bro, can we get an edit? We need you to name this store. Like, for real, so people don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
If you ever see this video,
For real.
message us, look for Brothers in Dungeons on Reddit, or just edit your thing so that people know where not to go, because that's gross.
I really just have one piece of advice.
Holy shit.
Eat the lich.
Eat him. Jesus Christ.
You just keep going back to DRAGONCUCK, don't you?
Wait your turn, dragon. Oh my god. We have to say that to Don.
Yeah, I know. That's all I've been thinking about since you said it. What? I'm not sleeping with him. I literally just got married. Look, why don't we just buy you a hooker as a gift and talk about our next mission tomorrow? Leave us alone for the time being.
No, little lady. It's my right as lord of these lands to claim you on your wedding night. It's called Prima Noctis, the first night.
I'm the boyfriend now.
Okay.
My face is red.
You can have her once I've used her. Wait your turn, dragon cuck. I am vanquished.